Hello, everybody, and welcome to Music Industry Insights Worldwide. Today, we've got such an amazing guest, Caleigh Rose, with us. Hi, Caleigh. How are you?
Hi, great. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for coming along today. Thanks for sharing your story with the listeners and the viewers that are on, the platforms that we have. Do you want to tell listeners a little bit more about yourself, where you're from, and what you do?
Absolutely. So I am in Nashville, Tennessee,
Lovely.
and I focus on music for mental health,
Yeah.
kind of combining somatics with songwriting.
Oh, that's so cool. So tell us a little bit more. How did you get into the music industry?
So music has always been a passion of mine. I got into music later on in life
Mm.
after exiting my corporate career. Um, it wasn't until leaving my career that the doors opened to music.
Yeah. And was there a reason why you think music was a tool for people to kind of have a release or some kind of output or an emotional input to it?
I think music is so personal. It allows us to reflect our own emotions to ourselves
Mhm.
without outside input.
Okay.
And that honesty, the emotional honesty of music, is unlike anything else that we can experience.
Okay. And you say you came from a different kind of background from music. What kind of background was that, and how was those skills transferable into music?
So I had a career in corporate business and marketing prior to music.
Yeah.
While music was always my true passion, ever since I was a kid, I started performing, and for various reasons, it didn't feel like it was something that I could pursue um, professionally or long term.
Yeah.
And then, after a series of significant losses in my life, and getting to the point of what am I here to do? What do I want? Um, my mark on the world to be, if you will.
Excellent.
And I kept coming back to music, and having experienced, that transformative period of grief and loss,
Yeah.
music was there for me um, in a way that was so healing. And so I pursued education in somatics,
Yeah.
and from there went on to applying that to songwriting.
So can you explain to the listeners what is somatics? Because some people might not understand what that means.
Absolutely. Somatics is mind body wellness. So it's the principle and understandings that our whole beings
Yeah.
are interconnected. So our mind, our body, our soul,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
that they're in balance with each other, and not necessarily one outweighing the other, but they work in harmony.
Do you know, it's funny you say that, Katie, because I've got the tattoo, the Chinese symbol on my belly, similar to Malbie's actually, where I got it from. And it's spirit, heart, mind. And I got that when I was 18. That's always stayed
Oh,
with me.
wow.
That's lovely. I'm so glad to hear that as well. And you've made such a bold decision to leave a corporate career and follow your lifelong passion. What was the moment that told you that that was the time that you needed to do that and write songs?
So, actually, I left my corporate career to pursue somatics originally.
Okay.
Um, and it wasn't until after leaving that everything aligned for music. I do remember sitting at my desk, thinking to myself, if I could leave and do anything, it would be music. And lo and behold, a couple months later, everything started unfolding for music. But the reason I left my career is ultimately it wasn't serving. It wasn't aligning with who I am and who I was becoming.
I totally,
And the Go ahead.
I totally get that as well. I really do understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. And the moment for me was when my grandmother passed away,
Mhm.
and I was not met with empathy. And it shifted my perspective as to what matters if I'm not being seen as a person and and an individual, and the care isn't there.
Yeah.
It wasn't the right space for me. And so at that point, I made the decision that it was important for me to pursue other things. And I'm really glad that I made that decision.
That's such a bold move to make, and it really touches my heart because it's quite similar to my own story. You know, I was brought to music because both my parents were deaf, and I couldn't really communicate with them. I was always good at music, and I was good at sports, but my music teacher noticed I could sing. So I've always kind of done music, and then I was brought up by my grandparents. So when I lost my grandmother, who was like my mum to me, because my mum left when I was 5, and I've been in foster home, children's care. So I kind of understood, that close relationship with someone older than you and wiser. Now, you've experienced major life changes. How did those experiences reshape not only your life, but your relationship with the music?
As I shared, music was there when no one else was.
Yeah.
Going through a series of significant losses, the grief cycle kind of overlapped for different events that occurred. And specifically, the sudden loss of my dearest friend, that really impacted me on a level that showed me what, if we don't live today, we might not see tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And
Right.
the opportunity for me to take the lesson and the learning
Yeah.
of living each day to the fullest.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And how?
In music,
Yeah. Sorry. Carry on.
and music again was um, such a comfort in that time.
Yeah. And how do you find
Mm-hmm.
faith and music? Because I was brought closer to music through faith as well. And I think faith has always been a strong moral compass for me, but it's also been a way that
Mm-hmm.
I can express music and be musical. Did you find that help with you, Caleigh?
Yes, for me, music is very spiritual.
Yeah,
It's a connection that transcends this world.
yeah,
Um, that also is a connection to those loved ones and moments that um, are no longer with us.
yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing
Mhm.
that with us. And how does that also kind of evolve into your songwriting process? How do you incorporate that?
What do you mean by that in my creative process?
Yeah, like when you're writing songs, you're making music, how do you use those pain points, those experiences, those traumas, those losses, and put that into music and create music from that?
For me, the music is is an opportunity to connect deeper, not only with myself, but with that emotional space,
Yeah.
and being able to use the music as a tool of reflection um, for the inner work of the listener as well.
Mhm. And I've also listened to your album, which was awesome. Your debut album,
Thank you.
Unbecoming, and it's structured in 3 parts. You've got the background, you've got the breakdown, and the breakthrough. Can you walk through that process with us?
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned, the album is made up of 5 parts. There are 5 songs each, so there's 15 songs in total on the album.
Yeah,
The first 5 are the background.
yeah,
So it's the things in life that are happening kind of around us and in us that we may be aware of, and some that we're not aware of, but they're deeply impacting us.
and out of our control as well, right?
Some of them are, and some of them are more environmental.
Yeah,
Maybe surroundings that we're not aware of how deeply they're negatively impacting us.
yes, yeah, that's what I meant. Perfect. Yeah,
Mhm. And then the next 5 songs um, is the breakdowns. And so it's that um, dynamic of who you are and who you really want to be, and that tension between those two, and the things that you have to shed or break out of in order to become who you truly want to be.
And that's the hardest part, I think. And I think, we've both been through difficult times and circumstances. How have you found that? And what kind of struggles and barriers, Caleigh? Sorry, before I interrupt you to go on to the breakthrough part of it, did you have to overcome to get to the breakthrough part?
Yeah, the breakthrough is the hardest, or the breakdowns are the hardest part to get to the breakthroughs.
Yeah,
It's the internal, for me, it was the internal um, dynamic, right, of stepping out of the conditioning that we're surrounded by culturally in our world, our upbringings,
yeah,
um, our socio, economic settings, and our culture
yeah,
to free ourselves from that, mentally, emotionally, and physically in a lot of ways.
yeah,
Um, what I found for me is it wasn't one thing. It was kind of this layered experience. And so the more I kind of went through those breakdowns, there was another layer. But every time there was the next layer, it became more empowering because I could feel the shift within me.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that led to the breakthrough ultimately.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And I already thought, when I was listening to the album and listening to the songs, it was about unbecoming, which suggested shedding something and letting things go rather than adding things on. So when you're
Mhm.
unbecoming in your own life, what does that mean?
Yeah, for me it was that process of letting go of the things that weren't aligned, that truly were never mine to begin with.
Yeah,
Some from childhood, some from, you know, the things that we thought we had to be, or the masks we were wearing.
yeah,
And the more that I let go of those things, the more free I became.
that's beautiful. Like a butterfly, basically.
Like, yes, like a butterfly.
That's lovely. Thank you so much. And obviously, your album is more than music, it's a mission. So, what change do you hope the listeners experience after hearing your music and experiencing it for the first time?
I hope the listeners connect more deeply with themselves, that they're able to have have that reflection of whatever they're struggling with, whatever those um, things that are happening in the breakdown for them, and in the background, and able to more deeply go on their own journey.
And push through to the breakthrough as well, right? Because you've got to get there in your head.
Absolutely. You have to get to the breakthrough. And the breakthrough section is one of my favorites of the album. Those 5 songs really reflect beautifully the power of the breakthrough, of the shift that happens when you invest in yourself and when you bet on yourself and you don't give up.
Oh, that's beautiful, actually. I love that. And thank you so much because I often go through my own challenges and difficulties, and it's very relatable, all of the stuff that you've done. And I love your album. I think it's about also understanding that when you're going under certain pressures and environments, that's actually where the diamonds are formed, right? Diamonds are formed under pressure,
Yes,
under difficult circumstances. But if you hold true and you stay authentic and original, which is what I really get from you, that it does work.
absolutely. It is a diamond experience for sure.
Yeah, awesome. And in a world where music is often quickly consumed, both, on social media and commercially, how can we make
Mhm.
interaction with bringing healing back to music and making it also part of a tribe, part of a community, part of something that's more than just music itself?
We can listen a little bit more deeply and slowly,
Yeah,
and intentionally, and having it be an opportunity um, where we do slow down a little bit. And maybe that's in a quiet moment, that maybe that's outside in nature, or consuming it in groups, with the intentionality. And it can be fun too. I love listening to the album with my daughter,
Oh, it's not.
and having a dance party. Like there's a lot of fun,
Yeah.
as well around music. Um, but I think the key to what you mentioned is kind of that slowing down part, versus having everything be, so instantaneous.
Going all lined up and thinking it's all going to be perfect, which no one has actually got that perfect life.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I think a lot of us do attain to be that perfect person. It all looks great, but behind closed doors, it's not as great as it seems, right? Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of us go through that, actually, Caleigh, to be fair.
Absolutely. And I experienced that as well. I think it was that level setting of, um, letting go of perfectionism.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the more I've let go of it, the more authentic I am. Like, it's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay for everything to not go as planned. And finding the beauty, in that, I think, is more freeing than when it goes to plan.
That's lovely, actually. And do you know what? Sometimes I'm really worried. Sometimes, they say, if you see something wrong, speak up about it. But then when you speak up about it, you seem wrong. Then if I do say something, I feel bad. And if I don't say something, I feel bad. So how do you deal with
Yes.
I'm one of those empathetic people. I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want to harm anyone. But at the same time, some things are wrong. You've got to speak up. You've also got to
Mhm.
be authentic. How do you navigate that?
Mhm. That it's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
Um, I find that, as an empath myself, holding space for others while also, kind of protecting my energy and not absorbing,
Mhm.
while holding that space that we're all human and we're all on our own journeys. And if you're connecting with someone, um, we play a role in each other's lives. And so allowing that to be the sacred space it is.
Oh, that's nice because I tell you what I do. I tend to forget myself. I'm really good at helping everyone.
Hmm.
I'm not very good at helping myself, unfortunately, for some reason. I don't know why.
Mm.
Why do you think that is?
That was something I personally, experienced myself.
Yeah.
For a long time, I was, I didn't always put myself on the to-do list, so to speak.
Yeah.
And the more I poured into myself, the more, um, I aligned with who I am. And I know for me, it was, a whole host of things as far as why I did that. And shedding that aspect of me was central to, the experience of unbecoming. And there was, there's a loss
Yeah.
in losing parts of yourself,
Yeah.
as well. But I do think, as women, especially, in society, we're always conditioned. We tend to be conditioned to care for others,
Yeah.
and that's the primary focus. Not caring for ourselves as much. And as a mom myself, I find it's been pivotal to shift that dynamic and
Oh,
show my daughter that she needs to care for herself,
yeah.
first.
Self-care.
And you can't go ahead.
Self-care is crucial, isn't it?
Yes, and you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
And so if we're not pouring into ourselves,
Mhm.
um, we can't pour into others.
That's so true. And that's why I go to church, because I know when I'm going to church, God's pouring into my cup. Because sometimes I'm pouring it into everyone else's, but I know the one person that's pouring into my cup is the one and only. So I love that.
Yes.
Thank you so
Mhm.
much. And also, the unbecoming represents discovering who you are and who you were born to be. What have you discovered in yourself that you would say is part of the journey that ends this beautiful, empowerment and finding your new self?
What was part of the journey?
Yeah, from discovering from your new self, from your old self, letting things
Mm.
go and evolving.
Yeah, I discovered a lot of things about myself. Um, One of them being that I'm more of an introvert, than I ever truly realized.
Yeah.
And I'm deeply creative, which I knew, um, but on a level that I'm now truly just kind of scratching the surface. And I need my time to recharge. While I do love to be around others, I need that time
I get
for
you.
myself.
Yeah, I get it as well. Like, especially when you're walking into a room full of people that you don't necessarily always know. There's lots of different people. It takes time to process, but I love people. I've always been a people person. So I think for me, I'm an extrovert. I need time also, like yourself, to come away from it all and say, "Oh,
Mhm.
that's it. Take it all in and, compress it all and understand it."
Yeah. Yeah, it's wonderful when we can connect to who we are centrally, as you mentioned, right? Like if you like being around a lot of people, that's important for you to know about yourself. And if that, again, in a way to refill your cup.
I love people. I just like energy. I love positivity. I like listening to stories, but I also like inspiration, innovation,
Mhm.
creativity, diversity. I think we can all learn from each other always. And I'm always learning.
Yeah.
So I love that. Is there any way the listeners can connect with you, Caleigh? I don't know
Would
if
love for the listeners to oh, can you hear me okay?
sorry, it went blank then. Sorry, I didn't know if you could still hear me or not.
It kind of went out. If you want to ask the question one more time and we can
there
start
any
that again.
there any way the listeners can connect with you or find out more about your music, find out how they can collaborate with you possibly? How could they do that?
The listeners can listen to Unbecoming. It is available on all streaming platforms, as well as my website, uh, CaleighRoseMusic.com. I am on Instagram, and LinkedIn as well.
Perfect. I'll leave all the links in the description. Is there any major wins or successes you'd like to share with us before you go?
The success is having it out in the world. The success is the stories and the individuals, who've listened to the music and been inspired by it. And I'm
And
grateful for those who've shared the stories of their own journey.
thank you. Thank you for creating such beautiful work. Thank you for being yourself. Thank you for sharing this inspirational, empowering story. Thank you for being such a lovely person in this world. And I really wish you all this success to come because you're such a lovely person. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me. Grateful for the opportunity to share today.
That was a pleasure. Thanks, Caleigh.